I understand what you're asking, and I can answer the question, but I don't feel this is special. I don't feel this is a gift. Some people do, some people who do healings or do readings put a shine on it and saying this is a very special gift and that I have to take care of. And I don't know if that's true or not. I certainly don't. To me, it's so very ordinary, but maybe that's because I grew up in it. But to answer the question of what do I mean by I grew up in it, why do I think this is so ordinary, there is a time in which I sort of began to grasp intellectually what it was all about, and then there was a time in which, having the intellectual knowledge that this was possible, I began to use it, and then it winked out, and it was like I was asleep for a period of time, which was the teenage years until, my late 20s, married, had kids and everything, and the light came back on again, and this whole adventure in the Army started. So backing up, before I became intellectually aware of things going on, it was routine for me at night. A lot of kids fight about bedtime, going to bed, and I don't want to go to bed, I want to stay up and do this and so forth and so on. I was always eager to go to bed because for me it was like watching television. What channel would I turn to tonight? And the language is something that in the 21st century we don't quite understand, but back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, we actually had to turn a knob on a television, and that's the way you would tune the different television channels. So we always said we'd turn to the next channel, but now I guess we push a button to the next channel or something. So when I would go to bed at night, I was excited to know what I was going to do tonight, and sort of like on the television, what channel would I be on tonight? And many times I would, at night, jump out the window and fly over to my friend's house and play with my friends. And well, that's what everybody does at night. I mean, that's why we sleep. Sometimes we're awake and we do this, and then we go to bed at night so that we can go do this other stuff. But along with that process, I was quite old, 8, 9 years old, and had a bedwetting problem. And on my bed at home there was a big rubber mat that was underneath my mattress pad and my sheets. And my older sisters didn't have a big rubber mat, and I was sort of savvy enough that you shouldn't talk about this at school. And it was something, as I grew up, I was never ridiculed or scolded or anything else, but I knew there was something that was a little different. And when I got older, 8, 9 years old, then it became my responsibility to wash my sheets when this happened. My parents, I guess, had decided, well, maybe if he thinks about the consequences, the sheets have to be cleaned, maybe that will help him to understand what's going on here. I remember very distinctly one night, as I'm seeing it in my head as I'm telling you, I remember very distinctly one night waking up in bed, and I was mad. I was just furious, and I was screaming and tantruming. And my mother came running in and said, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Did you hurt yourself? Are you okay?" And I looked at her and I said, "I remember. I got up and I went into the bathroom. I sat on the toilet. And when I began to pee, I woke up here and I was all wet. I am mad." And she grabbed me and she cuddled me and she says, "Oh, that's okay, you're fine." She said, "You have to remember to take your body with you when you go to the bathroom." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she says, "Well, sometimes you're in your body and sometimes you're not in your body. But when it's time to go to the bathroom, you always have to check that you're going to take your body with you in there." And I was like, oh. And I never wet my bed again. So that was my intellectual connection with I am more than my physical body, and it made perfectly good sense to me. Now, in my junior high school years, when I became interested in girls, a junior high school kid is much too shy to approach these girls that are blossoming out and experimenting with makeup, and the boys in junior high are like, oh my goodness, look at that. But I could go visit them at night. And so I remember going out of body and flying around this girl's house at night and so forth and so on. So again, this is regular. You know, it isn't everybody this way. Even today at the Institute, people will come and share with me, oh my goodness, I just read Bob Monroe's book. I got it in the bookstore. It was just 5 months ago, and I decided to come here. And this is all so exciting and so new, and I never realized. And I nod and I smile, and I have no concept of what they're talking about, because this has always been part of me. It isn't something that I knew or I discovered, or a brand new thing I discovered when I was 46 years old, or anything else. It's just, well, this is the way it is, of course, you know, so it's very real for me.